All right, this is the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Jacob Bradley Johnson, case number 255038FY. Parents' counsel.
Please sit all for the people.
I'm Jeff Harrison. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Johnson. He has joined me as well.
And we are here for a preliminary examination on a one-count complaint of assault with intent to do great bodily harm, less than murder, or by strangulation. Is there any resolution in this matter?
Your Honor, the people have offered domestic violence misdemeanor with a 4A deferral. I believe that offer was rejected. At this time, we are withdrawing that offer if the prelim proceeds.
We'll understand that. Is that clear? What you're saying is that misdemeanor resolution won't be. That's fine, Your Honor. We understand. Acknowledge that on the record.
All right.
Mr. Johnson is aware of that.
Okay. Any preliminary matters?
None from me.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Dull, your first witness.
And are the people called David Schuman?
Just a second. Oh, there it goes.
Sir, before you have your seat, if you'll raise your right hand, you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may have a seat. Everything we say is recorded, so I need to make sure you speak right up, all right? Thank you. And whenever you're ready, Ms. Dull.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
David Schuman, David Schuman.
Mr. Schuman, do you know Jacob Johnson?
I do.
What is your relationship to him?
I'm his father.
You see him in court today?
I do.
Can you point out where he is seated and what he is wearing?
There, he's wearing orange.
May the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant?
Mr. Harrison, any objection?
No.
It shall so reflect.
Thank you. You recall an incident with the defendant, Mr. Johnson, on December 7th of 2025.
I do.
Where did this incident happen? Bedford County,
Yes.
and that's in the state of Michigan.
Yes.
So why don't we go from the beginning? How did that incident start?
While we were having a disagreement and I asked him to lower his voice, he escalated it and got louder rather than calming down. That went on for approximately about 10 minutes. The entire time I kept my cool, staying calm, and he just kept getting more irate, to the point where he was basically in a fighting Irish stance several times in my face trying to fight me.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but you indicated something with your hands. Can you describe what you're doing with your
I'm
hands?
putting my hands up like I would be boxing or fighting in front of my face.
And that's in your hands are in fists?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. What happened after he continued to raise his voice?
When I told him, I asked him to go in his room, and then I told him to go into his room if he's not going to calm down. And I put my hand on his chest one time, and he said, "Touch me again," or something along those lines. And that was the point where I touched him multiple times at a fast rate, not pushing, but several times touching his chest, kind of out of spite.
Okay, and were you doing that with your open hand?
Yes.
Okay. Were you doing that to push him?
Not necessarily to push him, to touch him again, because he said, "Touch me again."
Okay. And what did he do in response to that?
He punched me in the face, and then I turned away from him at that point. I was dazed, seeing stars. I tried to leave the area and go upstairs. When I made it to the first or second stairs, when he either jumped on my back or just came behind me with, I believe, his right arm, put me in a chokehold with both of his arms locked around my neck. I tapped on his arm and said, "Okay, Jacob, I'm tapping. Okay, I'm tapping." He made a comment, something along the lines of, "You're going to learn, and this is it." That was the last thing I remember. At that point, I see my girlfriend looking down from the top of the stairs. She just came running to see what was happening. She seen him choking me. She took off running, was the last thing I remember. And then everything faded out and went black.
We're gonna back up a little bit. You said that he hit you in the face. What did he hit you with?
Closed fist.
And where on your face did he hit?
My left ear.
Do you remember how many times he hit you?
Just one time.
Just the one time you remember?
It was just one time, I'm confident.
Okay.
Well, after I was unconscious, I don't know what went on after I was unconscious. But before the choking, I know that I was only hit one time that I know of during everything that happened.
And what was your intention when you turned and started walking towards the stairs?
To get out of the area because he was attacking me and I didn't want it to be physical at that point. And I thought removing myself from the situation in the area would be tough.
Now, you said that he had both his arms locked around your neck. Can you describe how his hands were locked around your neck?
I'm not positive. I just know that his right arm was doing most of the strangling. I think his left arm was kind of locking it in. I remember looking down and seeing his right elbow in front of my chin.
So he had his arm on both sides of your neck, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. What was he doing with his arm when it was around your neck?
Squeezing.
Okay. And what did you feel when he was squeezing your neck?
Pressure, I guess slight pain, and then very quickly everything faded out and I just went unconscious. Fell and hit my head on the concrete. Thin carpet on the basement floor. Woke up in a pool of blood.
So the pool of blood, do you know where that blood came from?
I lip.
Okay. Do you know how long you were passed out?
After talking with my girlfriend, from the time she ran upstairs to the time she came back down, when I woke up after being unconscious, just a couple minutes, I believe.
Now, you said that you had an injury to your lip and there was blood. Were there any other injuries?
Yes, just bruising, I guess, to my knees, ribs, right hand, right foot. Then I hit my head on the concrete.
Did you get any medical treatment for those injuries?
I did.
When was that?
I don't know if it was the day after or 2 days after, but it was either 1 or 2 days later, once in emergency room.
I know this is a silly question, but did you ask him to put you in a chokehold and choke you out?
No, I did not.
And was it against your will that he did that?
It was.
Prior to him punching you in the face, did you hit him in any way?
No,
Did you threaten him in any way?
no,
Did you ever threaten to shoot or kill him?
I did not. He states several times to me that I have. I do not, I have no memory of that ever happening.
And again, just going back, when you were touching him, were you shoving him?
No.
Now going towards the, one of the injuries, can you tell me a little bit about how you felt after you woke up, specifically with your throat?
My throat had the most pain right away, my throat and my face. I could barely swallow. Couldn't eat solid food for several days. Sorry, soft food only for several days. But I mean, immediately after it happened, I had a lot of pain in my throat.
And you stated that when he was choking you, you had slight pain. Can you describe that?
I can't really describe it any more than that, just that it's slight pain. I'm not sure how else to describe it.
And then after you woke up, what was the level of pain that you felt in your neck?
I guess when I first woke up, I was kind of in shock for probably about an hour. I felt some pain, and then kind of after an hour, when the shock was wearing off and I was calming down, that's when my whole body started really hurting. The pain level went up. It was kind of just slight pain up until that point. And then after calming down a bit, I was in more pain.
All right, that's all the questions I have now.
Thank you. Mr. Harrison?
You mentioned that at some point, he put his hands up like this. You described that as a fighting stance. Isn't that what boxers do when they're trying to defend themselves as well?
Yes.
Okay. He asked you just not to touch him anymore, and you did it anyway several more times.
Objection.
That's what he testified
Hold on.
to.
Let's see.
Misstates the testimony.
I don't believe it does. I'll rephrase.
Go ahead. Thank you.
He asked you to stop touching him, but you didn't stop, did you?
Correct.
Objection, same objection, Your Honor. If I may.
I'm mirroring his
Hold on,
testimony.
hold on. Ms. Dull?
Your Honor, I believe his testimony was that the defendant stated, "Touch me again."
And then the witness testified that he did touch Mr. Johnson again.
My notes indicate put hands on chest multiple times. So I'll allow the question.
And that's when he reacted and punched you.
Correct.
Okay, so do you own guns?
Yes.
Where are they kept? Better question. Sorry. Were you in between your son and the doorway? Would he had gone through you to get out the doorway?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we were in several spots actually. So, I mean, our position was constantly changing.
Okay, so there was kind of a volleying back and forth, but at the ultimate interaction was you touching him on the chest and him punching you in the face. At that juncture, it's fair to say that you were between him and the door.
Correct.
Okay. And then you went to leave the room, and that's when he re-instigated.
After being punched.
Yeah.
I tried to leave the room.
Right,
Yes.
right. Did you say where you were going?
No, I was just trying to stay conscious and stay walking because I was seeing stars and
Yeah.
on the verge of falling down. So
You were unexpected. I'm sorry.
grabbed my face and then I just turned around and tried to get the hell out of the area.
Yeah, you weren't expecting to be punched in the face.
No.
So that was kind of a shock to your system, if you will.
Correct.
Okay. You're saying you have no conscious memory of threatening him with a weapon. Is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely not. That did not happen.
Okay. You said, your statement before was, I don't remember doing that, but you're even more adamant now that you never would have
Well,
done.
he's very adamant that it happened.
That's why I'm asking the question. So you're just as adamant that it didn't happen?
Correct. Yes.
He would have no reason to fear that when you were leaving the room, it was to retrieve a weapon.
For sure. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Nothing further.
Ms. Dahl, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Excuse me.
So, if I recall correctly, when you and the defendant were arguing, and it was going back and forth, were you trying to get him to go back into his room to calm down?
That was the very last thing that I said right before it happened. I wasn't pushing that point for a long time or minutes or anything. That was kind of said. I touched him and then I was assaulted. It's not like I was pushing him to go to his room for minutes and minutes, for an ongoing period or anything like that.
Okay. And you just testified earlier that the guns were kept in a safe in the basement, correct?
Correct.
And when you were going up the stairs, you were going away from the basement, correct?
Correct. Completely different. The guns were.
Mr. Harrison,
Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sure.
All right. Sir, you are free to go about your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dahl, your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the people call officer, I'm sorry. Sergeant Bertram.
Sergeant? You swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You may have a seat. And whenever you're ready, Ms. Dahl.
Your Honor. Sergeant Bertram, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Nicholas Bertram. It's Nicholas Bertram.
Right, what is your occupation?
I'm a sergeant with the Cadillac Police Department.
And how long have you been in that position?
I've been a sergeant for 8 years now. Been there 18 years.
And were you working in that capacity on December 7th of 2025?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall an incident on that date involving the defendant in this case?
Yes, I do.
And where did this incident occur? And when you arrived on scene, did you make contact with the victim in the case?
Very brief contact, but yes.
How did by victim, I mean David Schumann.
Yes,
I
that's correct.
believe we were talking about the same person, but just to make the record clear. When you did see Mr. Schumann, did he have any visible injuries on him?
Yes, I saw blood or some type of an injury on his face, I believe from his lip area somewhere, and some type of an abrasion on his forehead area.
And you said you had brief contact with him. What did you do after you had brief contact with him?
I listened enough to get a description of the suspect and the vehicle that had been taken, because we were informed the vehicle had been taken as well. So I left the area and left the house, excuse me, and tried to drive around and find the vehicle.
Did you at some point find the vehicle?
Yes, a little bit later, I believe a few hours, we were given information over the radio that the vehicle was either being followed or we had a direction of travel for it, leaving the Home Depot area in Cadillac.
And at some point, did you make contact with that vehicle?
Yes, I did.
And who was in the vehicle?
I found Jacob Johnson in the driver's seat of the vehicle. It was stuck in the ditch on a 30.5 road in the Cadillac area.
And do you see Mr. Jacob Johnson in the courtroom today?
I do.
Could you please point him out and I state an item of clothing he's wearing?
He's in the defendant's chair. He's wearing orange jail clothing.
May the record reflect that the witness identified the defendant?
Mr. Harrison?
No objection.
It shall so reflect.
And how were you able to find the defendant? Do you remember what led to you finding him in that location?
I think, I don't know for sure, but I believe someone was following him. We were being given updates from dispatch to the location of the vehicle. Last known location was 30.5 Road and Mackinac Trail, which is where I ended up finding the pickup truck on the side of the road, or in the ditch rather, of that road. So I believe someone was finding him. The victim's girlfriend, Miss Yang, she ended up showing up like right after I ended up talking to Jacob. So.
Now, when you made contact with Jacob, did he make a statement to you as to what happened?
Yes, he did.
Now, was that after he was given his Miranda warnings?
He proceeded to tell me basically what was going on before I even finished arresting him, and wanted to tell me about his side of the story. I did eventually read him Miranda warnings, and he agreed to talk with me. I provided a statement after that.
And can you give us, can you tell us what he said about the situation?
He said he and his father were smoking marijuana downstairs in the basement. Jacob said that he made a comment to his father about disposing of marijuana or something like that, that upset his father. They had an argument back and forth with each other, and he was trying to get away from David, and David would not leave him alone. So he eventually told him, if you're going to continue to follow me around, I'm going to defend myself, essentially. And then from there, he said that David continued to antagonize him. And so he punched David in the face 2 times, 2 or 3 times, I believe was his statement to me. And then put him in a chokehold and choked him out till he passed out.
And did he say whether that was that he intentionally choked his father?
Yes, he intentionally waited till his father went limp and passed out, and he left him on the floor, passed out.
So he admitted that he choked it to the point of his father becoming
Mr. Harrison? Okay.
so he stated that he choked him to the point of his father actually losing consciousness.
Yeah, he specifically pointed out that he recognized when he went limp and left him on the ground. Thanks, Tom.
Now, did he ever state that his father David hit him in any way before he punched him?
He expressed quite a bit of fear that his father was going to shoot him and kill him, and then end his own life. I'm referring to David.
Okay. And did he say that he threatened him that day with shooting him?
I tried to ask that for clarification, and he was not positive as to whether or not that happened that day. That statement was made.
Did the defendant state what he did after he choked out David?
From there, he got up, put on his boots, took the keys to his father's pickup, and then left the house in that pickup. From there, he talked about going to the bowling alley, bowling a couple games, and putting gas in the pickup truck before we eventually found him.
So, as far as you know, he didn't report this incident to law enforcement.
Objection, relevance.
Ms. Dahl?
Your Honor, it goes to the fact that he was fearful for his life, and yet when he escaped the situation he was trying to avoid, he did not contact law enforcement. He went bowling.
I'll allow it.
As far as I know, he did not contact the police at all.
And did the defendant have any visible injuries?
I don't recall seeing any injuries in there or having him report any to me.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
I have no questions for the sergeant.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry. Ms. Dahl, your next witness.
I don't have any other witnesses, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Harrison, any proofs?
No proofs today, Your Honor.
Argument then, Ms. Dahl?
Thank you, Your Honor. In this case, the defendant is charged with assault by strangulation or suffocation. The people have proven by a probable cause standard that the defendant punched his father at least once, but possibly multiple times. And there was testimony that the father was then retreating and trying to go up the stairs away from any guns that the defendant may have claimed that he was fearful of. And at that point, the defendant decided to attack him further and put him in a chokehold for a significant enough time to make the victim lose consciousness. Not only that, but after he regained consciousness, potentially a few minutes later, eventually he had pain in his neck to the point where he could only consume he could only consume soft foods. That goes to the level of choking that the defendant, who admitted to doing it, did to the victim. This was intentional. The defendant admitted that it was intentional and that he held him long enough for the victim to lose consciousness. In this case, I believe it's clear that the defendant intentionally suffocated the victim to the point of losing consciousness. It intentionally impeded the blood and the breathing to the point where the victim lost consciousness. Additionally, I believe that the defendant was trying to claim self-defense. In this case, the testimony that was presented was that the defendant was not attacked first. The defendant was touched by his father. Although they had a mutual argument, the defendant escalated that argument by punching him in the face. If the court believes that that might even be something that was self-defense based on the touching, which I do not believe it is, the victim then testified that he turned around and started walking away. If the defendant was fearful for the guns were in the if any self-defense in this case is negated. Additionally, I believe that affirmative defenses are an issue for the jury to resolve. So I believe that is something to be decided at a later date if the defense wants to pursue self-defense. I believe that's it, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Harrison?
Well, clearly what we have here at the minimal way to look at this is that there was a physical altercation that involved two people and one person got the better of the other one. Go a little bit more in depth. There was a distinct and clear delineation where Mr. Schumann could have walked away. When the defendant said, "Don't touch me again or there'll be consequences." He elected not to do that. He admitted that he touched him again and again and again and again out of spite. Those are his words, not mine. To which the defendant, as promised, responded with some degree of force. Now, there are guns in the house. I don't know, and there was testimony to say if there were also guns upstairs. There were definitely guns in a safe in the basement. To react as to, gee, where might he be going? Because the primary thought was he was going to find a weapon or some other way to reinvigorate this conflict. So in effect, my client neutralized that threat, removed the obstacle between him and the doorway, put on his boots and left. That's what happened. Now, if you want to recharacterize it as, well, he didn't push him, he touched him, the law doesn't distinguish between pushing or causing injury. It says unwelcome touching. And that's clearly what unwelcome touching is defined as: touching someone in spite of their direction not to be touched and in spite of the fact that you knew better, with the intent to antagonize them. It worked. You antagonized them. I think under the circumstances, this is clearly a case where the combat, the physicality was mutual. I don't know. I guess I sort of agree that you can't necessarily be a fact finder here, but it's clear that this was self-defense in nature. It was clear that there was a reasonable application of force by my client to end this altercation, and he immediately left the premises. I don't think they've demonstrated an assault by strangulation. They have to prove the underlying assault, and I think that's where it falls short. I think it's factually, I didn't have any questions for the officer, even after he quoted my client, and it's compelling because that's pretty close to exactly what my client told me, even as contained in the police report and independently verified by Mr. Johnson. So I think that's pretty clear what happened here. I think it's pretty clear that there was no assault by strangulation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any rebuttal?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe the assault was clear. He put his arm around the victim's neck and pressed to the point of unconsciousness. That is an assault, battery, that is strangulation, that is intentional, that is against the victim's will. The argument that this was mutual is absolutely absurd, Your Honor. Touching somebody on the chest does not equate to choking somebody to the point of unconsciousness. He escalated to a level that potentially could have been deadly. Had he held him any longer, he could have died. And choking somebody out could cause an aneurysm, could cause death. So in this case, he escalated from touching on the chest to a level that potentially could have ended up in a very different way. So to call this a mutual fight is absolutely absurd. And I believe the testimony is clear that this was intentional. This was assault by strangulation. And it, although it doesn't require injury, there was absolutely injury in this case. The argument that he did this in self-defense, not knowing what he was going to do, he was clearly going in the opposite direction of the gun safe. It would be speculation to think that there's guns all over the house, even though the guns are kept in the gun safe. Trying to avoid the situation is undermined by the fact that he went bowling right after this. He was not fearful for his life. He did not escape a dangerous situation. He ran off in his father's truck and then went bowling. And then he did 2 games of bowling and he was driving around. So clearly he was not afraid for his life, and this was not a situation of his self-defense and fear for his life. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, as everybody knows, the standard that the court has is probable cause, which is a lot lower burden than reasonable doubt. Mr. Harrison does raise the issue of self-defense, and I believe that this case is not so clearly defined that the court could find today that self-defense applies. As such, I find that's up to the trier of fact to make that decision, of which I am not. I do believe there was probably some antagonizing going on by both sides, and Dad was challenged and Dad accepted the challenge. However, that doesn't, you can't assert any amount of force against somebody to try to protect yourself. Nor did we have any testimony from the defendant about his state of mind and whether he was in fear for whatever was going to happen. So for purposes of today's preliminary examination, I find that the people have met their burden of establishing that there was assault with intent to do great bodily harm less than murder or by strangulation. In particular, I find that on December 7th, in the city of Cadillac, at there was an altercation that started in the basement of the house. Eventually, the defendant places his father in a chokehold and chokes him out until he passes out. Usually the court is at least tasked with some sort of level of whether or not there was a constriction of the airways, but in this case, he passed out. The victim testified it was not, he didn't ask for it to happen. So I do believe that for purposes of the preliminary examination, the people have met their burden. Mr. Johnson, I bind you over on the charged offense. Before I sign the bind over, is there anything to address on the record?
There's not from us either.
All right, then I will go ahead and sign the bind over.